Hello there. This is just a quick live because I got some questions about how to make little rose charms if you have problems with my fingers, with your fingers and your hands, because a lot of people who have bad hands have problems doing, and pardon my fingernails, I've been working on stuff, but most of the tiny rose charms tutorials show how to make charms by doing the petals, starting doing the petals like this. Hi, Judy. And after a while of doing this, if you're like me and you have arthritis of the hand, and that really gives you issues whenever you're trying to pinch and grasp and all that. After you do several of these little balls, it starts hurting, and it can start hurting really bad. So, how can we do little rose charms without hurting our hands? And let me show you. Number one, you have to remember whenever you do flowers to always mix a little bit of translucent in your clay. And here I have, I think it's blush. And I usually go like a 2/3 regular clay, 1/3 translucent. And then you get it on a fairly thin setting. And the best to use is teardrop cutter. That is your best chance. Let me grab a little bit of wax paper. And then the other thing, just make a block of scrap clay and have close some eye pins. Then you go ahead and with your teardrop cutter, just start cutting. Don't get all messed up. Hi, Anna. And see, this way you don't have to get them all rolled up. It might take a while, but you can do a whole bunch of petals all at the same time. And you can make them with, hi, Alexandrina. You can make them even with Skinner blends, with if you make a strip with a gradient white on one side and, red or fuchsia on the other end, you can get all your petals with the tip with another color. I'm working on a whole bunch of stuff and I'm trying to finish it before we are under severe weather threat today. But I thought of jumping real quick on showing you how to do these. And you can get this in the Kemper cutter, and then I showed you before, there's a whole set of small cutters. I'll get it and show it to you in a minute here. That also has teardrops. And for a larger rose, of course, you can use a bigger teardrop cutter. Okay, so now that we are done with this, to do a little bit of veining, because it's hard to vein such a tiny petal in a veiner. Veiners are usually much bigger, and especially considering that you find them mostly for sugar craft, and the sugar craft, the flowers on a cake are much bigger. Hi, Laos. You just get it on your palm and using a little ball stylus, you can go in and vein it a little bit. Then, and you can vein a few at a time just to have them ready. And roses are among the easiest to make flowers out of polymer clay, out of all the possible flowers that you can make. And they are especially easy to make in miniature for charms. And this way, so I used I think it was a 6 or a 7 on the Makins pasta machine. And don't bother veining all the way down towards the tip of the teardrop. Hi, Ellen, because that's not going to show. All you need to worry about is the thicker, rounder end of the teardrop. I'm going to make a few to make not just one rose, but several. There we go. Hi, Chris. Then you can do these on a toothpick, but personally, I have found that number one, especially if you want to attach these, you know, to a chain for a bracelet or something, it's much better to put them directly on the eye pin, and the eye pin will hold it. On the toothpick, it might slide up and down, but the eye pin will hold it. And now I'm going to have to take my eyeglasses off so I can see better what I'm doing. So first petal, you'll have to kind of wrap it around a little bit and choose this, to wrap it like this, following the curve of the eye pin. And then all you have to do is to simply add more petals and try to go not like this, just try to go a little bit overlapping the previous one. This is the easiest way to make rose charms. Yeah, you can cut with the round cutter if you want to, if you want the petals to be wider. But I find that it's much easier to go with the teardrop because you get, and I'll show you with the round cutter what's the difference. Because you get this tip that goes. And then you want to go with a bit larger teardrop cutter for the next ones. Just for the last 2 or 3 petals. Come on. And again, I'm going to vein them a little bit. You cannot completely get out of pinching because you need to pinch the petals together, of course. And then pinch it real good at the end here. And your last thing would be to at the very end. And of course, you can place the green of the, how do you call it? The base of the flower. I don't know how you call it in English. Okay, now let's see how it comes up with the round cutter. And there's no reason to make bowls when you can have everything already cut for you. Yeah, I had to do something to get me out of the... I'm a little panicky about the bad weather today. So I had to take my mind off of it and have a little bit of interaction. Okay, let's get a larger round one. It's already, no, it didn't come up. And the same thing, you vein them a little bit. And again, you don't have to worry about all of it being veined. And that little dot that the camper cutter might leave is easy to cover when you're using the bowl stylus. And the same for the small and the same for the larger ones. And if they crack a little bit at the edge, that's perfect because some of the rose petals get cracked at the edge when the flower opens fully. Let me grab a larger one. Because the main thing why you are told to do the squishing of the little balls is because that makes a thin edge of the petal, but you get the same thin edge of the petal using the ball stylus. You just get all the way to the edge. And the same way, we start wrapping it around the eye of the eye pin. And gently overlapping the previous one. This one I made it with more petals than the other ones, and the same for when you place your larger petals. And it all depends on how big you want your rose charm to be. That's the difference between the teardrop and the round. For smaller rose charms, use the teardrop. For larger rose charms, use the round. Okay, so now that I'm done, you pinch real good the end, fluff it a little bit, and then cut the excess. And you bake it on this block of scrap clay. And then once they are baked, you take them out, and then you can reuse this block for all your future roses. Let me put my eyeglasses back on to see if you have any questions. Okay. Thank you, Donna. Yeah. Okay. Anybody has any questions? Because this, as I said, it's not going to be a long thing, just a short one. Oh yeah, I guess I'd better show how to make rosebuds. So you go for the same thing, and I'm going to go with the round. And of course, there are many, many, many ways to make roses. I'm just showing what is really easy on the hands. And you want at least one part to be flattened out. And for the rosebud, you go directly with the large ones. You don't want any small petals. You only want the large ones. And these are great for like hairpins, and I'm talking about the rosebuds, hairpins and earrings and things like that. Or if you make a wedding tiara. And the same thing, grab an eye pin, and you start the same way. Only that you place this a little bit higher, and you roll it. Instead of simply folding it, you roll it. Hi, Christina. Hi, Cecile. Hi, Lena. So see, instead of folding it, I am rolling it. And I'm rolling it a little bit more towards the top. And then see how this stopped here? I'm going to go a little bit before that, but this time I'm not going down. I'm going on the same line, and I keep rolling all the way to close to the top. And again, just a little bit from the end of this one, keeping the same roll it all around, and then gently pinch the bottom. And it depends how big you want your rosebud to be. If you want it to be almost closed, this is when you put the last petal, but I'm going to put a couple more petals to show you how to make a semi-opened one. And for the last petal, you want to go a little bit lower. You don't get it all the way up. And again, every time you make sure that you do the bottom. So this one is going to be a little bit opened. So again, just a pinch before, but still keep the same line here. Just a little bit before the other one ends. and roll it around. And again, do the bottom. And the last one is going to be rolled only to about half of the distance. So again, and the last one, you put it just like 1 millimeter lower. And you go in a diagonal. You don't do it all the way up. And there we go. We have a rosebud instead of an open rose. Actually, no, not on a tutorial, but I did a tutorial with a rose brooch with waxes. I'm not sure if I used mica. Thank you, Ellen. Hi, Tina. I didn't see you earlier. So yeah, you can see 3 different roses, and it all depends on how fast you want to do them. If you want to make them even smaller, you only use the small cutter. Let me get this focused better. There we go. And you can see there's a little bit of veining on them. And then when you bake them, they will have that very slight translucent quality that real flowers have. And they would look less plasticky than using just plain clay. And of course, if you want to do a larger one, again, let me get this through the pasta machine again and grab the larger cutters. Okay, let me grab larger cutters now. Something fell. Okay, so this is the, thank you, Tina. This is the smaller cutter from the Premo set of, I don't know how they are, 7, I think. And then, of course, you'll need a bigger ball stylus. And again, I did it on a fairly thin, it was a 7. Only that when you make a little bit larger ones, come on. Oh yay, the trash is here. I'm gonna have to go get the bin back so I don't have to run after it when the storm starts. Chase it down the street. I didn't do a very good job cutting this one. Anyway, so again, and the beauty of it is that when you're veining, it's going to get domed and curled exactly in the direction you want. And if this happens like it just happened here, that the clay sticks to the ball cutter, hi Cherry, just place a drop of Armor All And a lot of people have asked me, why don't you use water? Because in my experience, I've noticed that adding water kind of increases the risk of getting moonies or plaquing. So see, it's much easier to use the ball stylus like this. That's why I use Armor All, because Armor All doesn't seem to have that effect on clay. So especially if you use translucent, it's going to show as plaquing, and you don't like that. Okay, I need another drop of Armor All. And you don't want a whole bunch of it. You want to kind of tap it dry. Whispers scratching his back. You know how dogs get on their backs and they start rolling around. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Becky. Thank you. Okay. So the only thing is when you make a larger one, you want to start with, and here, yeah, you're going to have to pinch. You want to start with a little bowl, especially if you're going for a rosebud, and place it on the eye pin. And then the same as for the other ones. You go a little bit higher. You want your blob here to be towards the bottom of the petal. And the same, you don't fold it, you roll it. This is how you form your base of the rose or of the bud. And then the next one, I should have started with it larger so you can see better what I'm doing. The next one, again, you go about 2 or 3 millimeters and on the same line. Oops. And you roll. At this point, you can go a little bit like this, but you want to have it just a pinch tighter rolled. If you go for a bud, a pinch tighter roll right under the tip of the flower. And then again. If you want an open flower, you can go a little bit lower. If you want a bud, you go on the same line. You align the top of the petal with the other petals there. And at this point, you want to start the rolling on the higher spot. If you go for the bud. And the more petals you do, the richer your rose will be. And if you make an open rose, at one point you want to use a larger cutter. I'm going to start doing the opening. So as I'm doing the opening part, I'm starting to fold it on a diagonal. Yeah, it goes much faster. I just had a little bump of something here. And then again, slightly before the other one ends. And again, go diagonally. Because you want it to be stuck to the previous petal, not to the whole thing. And the last petal, again, start a little bit before. And then go on a diagonal. And now you can start nicely folding the bottom. And of course, if you want a fully opened rose, you start opening the petals earlier. And then if you want, you can fold the petals a little bit more. But yeah, there you go. That's another larger rose. And the larger you go, the larger your cutters, obviously. And as I said, you just I put them in here. And your holes will be already made for your next batch of roses. But this is good. Yeah, I'm trying to get a little relaxed. As I said, I'm freaking out because of the weather. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it and it helps a few of you who have issues with your hands and still want to make rose charms. And you didn't find my other roses. After this is over and it gets posted, I will post some links in the description to other tutorials I posted with roses, and you'll see how I made those. Okay? Thank you so much for being here with me, and I hope you enjoyed the little impromptu live. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you all Sunday. And yes, I am going to post soon another tutorial, and I started working on these. If you don't watch my Facebook, yes, I'm going to make a chest with dragon eggs. This is Viserion's egg. Remember how they are described in the book? Cream with gold veining, and they look like they are made out of jewels. Okay, thank you, and have a wonderful week and day, and see you Sunday, hopefully. Bye.